of the Oxford garrison to parliamentarian forces. Prince Rupert was so enraged by this that he had him stand against the wall, and he was shot for cowardice. His spirit is now said to haunt that lane, and indeed Merton College gardens themselves, and only the very brave will walk down there at night. That is not, however, how it gets the name Dead Man's Walk. It is because from early in the Middle Ages, Jewish funeral parties would make their way from the Jewish quarter in St. Aldate's, which is just over there, to their burial grounds, which were located at the other end of the lane, where the botanical gardens are now situated. Now, St. Aldate's, which is, as I say, not far from here, hides another dark Oxford mystery. For meandering below the streets of this pretty city flows a stream that has claimed more than one life. Its name, the Trill Mill Stream. It flows through dark tunnels under the centre of Oxford and enters the Thames by Folly Bridge. Part of its route takes it under St. Aldate's itself. T.E. Lawrence, better known as Lawrence of Arabia, was one of the first to explore it. He spent one summer's day canoeing down its dark and gloomy tunnels. He amused himself whilst under St. Aldate's itself, which is one of the main thoroughfares in Oxford, by thrusting his hands up through the drain grates and grabbing the ankles of the passers-by. He was lucky to get out of the other end alive. For in the 19th century, two students, whom we shall call Dickens and Sheridan, were taking a punt ride to celebrate the passing of an exam. Now, although they had a couple of bottles of wine on board, this does not explain the strange experience they had whilst on what they assumed was going to be a peaceful and relaxing journey. Whilst making their way along the river, Dickens noticed a particularly striking lady dressed totally in black, which she stared straight at him, which sent a shiver down his spine, for her piercing eyes appeared to be looking through to his very soul. Did she represent some sort of an omen? Dickens was not sure, but he had a strong sense that she might be a portent of some great malevolence. He soon dismissed these thoughts, and they continued on their way. Little did they know what awaited them. On entering a particularly dark tunnel, Dickens noticed a strange mist rising from the water's surface. He thought it odd, but again they continued on their way, oblivious to the fact that they were heading ever deeper into the jaws of death. The tunnel grew darker, and the dank smell was almost overwhelming. Suddenly, Dickens and Sheridan began to cough, and they slid down into the bottom of their punt. They were becoming asphyxiated and had to fight for every breath. Then, on the very edge of consciousness, Dickens noticed that the mist had formed itself into the shape of a ghostly head. Terrifying to look at, yet totally mesmerizing. Oh, but wait, was this not the face of the woman he had seen on the riverbank earlier? The face of the woman in black? Was she the face of death itself? The mist, they seemed to descend into the bottom of the punt. The next thing that they remember, the punt had emerged from the tunnel and had become lodged in the bank. They were safe. The woman in black was perhaps not evil after all, but their guardian angel. But many, many years later, in 1920, a punt was discovered in that same tunnel. It was carrying passengers, ladies and gentlemen. Two fully clothed skeletons. The woman in black had claimed her victims after all. We will now take our lives in our hands by attempting to cross the high street.